It's actually been so much fun connecting with people from all walks of life. I know you don't know me, but I feel like I know you. I've been following your journey for quite some time, being from Montreal myself. We went to the same dance studio growing up. So like you're a few years older than I am. I remember looking up to you being like, wow, like she's so amazing. Like all the
Thank
dance
you.
crews you were a part of. So we're going to talk about everything and anything. You have such an extensive resume and portfolio. Over the last 20 years, you've been not only a professional dancer, but a choreographer, public speaker, educator, TV personality. The list goes on, in front of the camera, behind the camera. I can list, guys, the celebrities, insane. Insane. The celebrities you've worked with, the stages you've been on, the news outlets, like I don't even know where to begin. So you're going to start and tell us, how the hell did you get here?
How much time do we have? No, I'm kidding. It's been such a great journey and really enjoying all of it, the ups and also the downs, to be honest. So I actually started, so I'm a professional dancer would be my main title.
Yeah.
And I started dancing later than most. I was 15 when I got into training just because financially we couldn't afford it before then, but I still loved it. I grew up on, watching Dirty Dancing and all these movies and, hoping to do that one day, even though I didn't know it was an actual career path that you could take. So I did it for fun and enjoyed it. And then it got more and more serious as it went. I was like, okay, this is something. What is this? And I remember, I think I was like late teenager, maybe 18, 19, 20, discovering like, oh, now I have some role models. I'm meeting, dancers from across Canada who have moved to LA, who are dancing with the Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson. And I'm like, okay, this is actually possible. You could do this. So I decided to quit university halfway through the program. I was studying physical therapy. And
what a different path.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I thought, physical therapy, it's the body, but it's just, you're not doing the same thing at all.
Yeah. Probably good knowledge for you to have had, though, because of like all the injuries and stuff dancers incur.
Yes, agree with you, but my brain, my memory sucks.
Okay.
So maybe unfortunately, when people are like, oh, so you know a little bit, can you help me? I'm like, I cannot. I'm so sorry.
Forgot it all.
Yes, forgot it all. But anyways, I quit university, jumped into dance, both feet into that, and never looked back. It's been such a great journey. I was in Montreal, so build my career here, then throughout Canada. So You Think You Can Dance Canada was definitely a big diving board for me to then move to the States a year and some later. I was 26 or so at that point in Los Angeles. So again, later than most, auditioning with like 17-year-olds and like,
really? Oh, cool.
I'm a grandma here. Like, what am I doing?
Way. I didn't realize. I didn't even realize. Is that like, what's the prime for a dancer?
It definitely is changing. I feel like there was a stigma around that. And like when I was younger, people would be like, so what will you be doing in your 30s? You're done dancing, right? That's it. It's like a professional athlete that has to quit early. And there's some of it ish, depending on what you want to do exactly with dance. But to be honest, I'm sure you can think of a bunch of movies you've watched or TV series where they break out into a flash mob and there's a grandma in the scene, or you know what I mean? Like we need dancers of all ages for all different types of projects. So there is no limit, I would say. But of course, in your 20s, you have the energy. And I think you also have like the green side of thing, like the naive, like, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just going to jump in and see what happens, versus as I'm getting older, I'm definitely analyzing things more. And I'm like, is it worth it? Is it not?
Yeah, that's it. And it's kind of like dating too. Like the older you get, the more you realize like what's working, what isn't, and you get to be a little bit more nitpicky. So you have this like extra level of experience and knowledge just in life that supports you in your career also, right?
Totally. Like getting to know yourself better. And I'm still, it's a lifetime discovery thing, but I'm so glad I did move there when I was 26, not, knowing myself better, and also coming along with that experience of having done the things that I shouldn't have done, or like the whoopsies, I was late, or, the mistakes in my career back home where people knew me a bit more.
Oh, even earlier. Okay, cool. So you feel like you got a lot of those lessons even before you moved to LA. So when you got to LA, you felt a little bit more like, I know what I'm doing.
Exactly. That's what I teach. I have a mentorship program, and that's what I teach my dancers all the time. I know we are eager and you just want to move to London and New York, LA, like the big cities to get some work, but it's precious. It's the time you have at home is precious. Like this is where
it's like a stepping stone.
Yeah. Because once I'm in LA, I'm competing with the best of the best, quotation marks, in every country coming into LA wanting the exact same thing I want. So it's a different, ball field for sure.
Yeah. So like walk me through it. You said 26 years
Yeah.
old? Moving Montreal, leaving your family, leaving your friends, moving to a city that you're unfamiliar with. First off, like what is it that really pushed you to go there to begin with? And also, what was that first year especially like? Because it must have been scary as hell.
Yes, yes. Leading up to it too, of course, you're like doubting, are you sure? Are you not? I remember having this
Yeah.
conversation with my mom, and she compared it to having kids. She's like, you're never really ready, but you're gonna figure it out. You just have the
Mm,
kids and you figure it out.
yep.
So I definitely was well surrounded and supported, which was huge for me. I'm always like, if you can pick the people that you make your family, that'll make the world of a difference with what
Hmm.
you're trying to accomplish. So that was helpful. So I moved to Los Angeles, kind of starting back at zero. Reputation wise and building my career wise. But I did move there when we're best friends now, but we were dating back then. His name is Vincent. He's my best friend. So as a couple, we're moving to LA together. And then there was a few other dancers from So You Think You Can Dance, Canada,
going at the same time.
going at the same time. So we had like our little hashtag Team Canada.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, supporting one another. So that definitely helped. But it was tough. It's a whole different industry. You're here in Montreal and you're barely auditioning. You're just getting the direct call. Like, hey, Kim, are you available for this? Yep. Great. Like there isn't that reality check of, oh my gosh, I arrive at an audition in Los Angeles and there's 800 girls. They're looking for two. And that's in your face. You arrive in the room and you're looking left and right and you're like, oh, this is my competition. This is so real all of a sudden. And like, how do I get past that?
Yeah.
So it was interesting of a switch, but the reason why you're asking why, to be honest, was I didn't want any regrets. I didn't want any what ifs.
There was something pulling you.
There was something pulling me. I kept thinking Beyoncé was a huge goal of mine. Like if you had to ask me when I was younger, I grew up on Destiny's Child and I just like,
wait, the fact that that was like a goal of yours and you actually achieved it. I thought it was like, oh yeah, I just got the Beyonce gig. Like that was a dream and it freaking came true.
Yeah, I was. I was actually still in Montreal. I think I must have been 21 or 22 years old when I auditioned for her for the first time. I just jumped on a bus to New York, heard there was an open call where anybody could show up and audition. I did it, didn't get it. Went back home. All right, well, rolling up my sleeves. What do I need to do? Let's keep training. And then years later, I think in between, like from that first audition all the way to actually booking a job with her, like a good 6.5 years passed by. So definitely it wasn't just like out of fluke. It was on my vision board.
Wow. That's incredible. And so like for people who aren't aware, you performed with her at the Super Bowl. I don't know which one it was.
That was in 2013. So when she did have Destiny's Child with her. And yeah, so that was my first job with her. And then right away after that, we went on tour and we did the Mrs. Carter World Tour. And then on the run with her and Jay-Z. And then I was actually offered her next tour, but I decided to decline it.
Really?
Yeah. Just
why?
In a space in my life where you never know, right? You can't plan your schedule around like, oh, this album will come out in February, or you barely have that information. So you kind of just go about your day and your career. And it so happens that during that time, me and a friend of mine were building a company called You Got This Girl. That was back in 2015, I want to say. And we're just starting out. It's our baby. We're figuring out the logo and the mission and it's just so exciting. And it's a thing that is ours. Yeah. And then that's when I got the email. Hey, Kim, you have like tonight to decide. Do you
tonight?
Yeah, it was basically
they don't give you time.
No, it's quick. And they know there's a lineup of people who will say, heck yes. So, so it was the most difficult, heartbreaking 2-3 hours of my life. I was about to hop on a flight to Switzerland. So that's a good 12-hour flight, I think, from LA. And I was going to be out of reach. So I needed to decide like now before I hopped on that plane. So it was tough, but I, kind of blocked out the outside voices and tuned into what felt right at the moment, what I was aligned with. And I decided to write like a letter to give to the assistant to give to Beyonce for her to know that I dearly love her and I hope we get to work together again. But this time I needed to, complete and finish this You Got This Girl company that we wanted to do to help young girls dream big. So
Yeah,
That's
you've
where
been
my
involved
heart.
in a lot of different initiatives, which is so nice to see you kind of like giving back and caring. Obviously, like you've done so much for yourself, but to see you also wanting to give back and support in that way is really cool. That must have been really hard for you to say no, honestly. Like that's insane, but the fact that you did it and that was like your one of your biggest dreams to go on tour with her. Did you get
Yeah.
to like meet her and become friends, quote unquote, with her? Like you had a relationship?
I'm not a deep one. Like, I mean, this is
Yeah.
a big machine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But she's so involved. So I'm going to say
Yes.
this. I don't have her phone number like I do with other artists,
Okay.
let me just text Nick Jonas or let me, whatever. But
She's top notch, yeah.
and she has a family,
Yeah, she's got
and
to protect him.
exactly. And I definitely respect that, but she
Hmm.
is always there. She's in rehearsal. She's watching, she's getting up, dancing with us. She's the one that shows up first when we're in production rehearsals, which means the stage is built, the
Hmm.
lightings are coming together, the screens, that everything is there. We're not gone on tour yet, but she's part of everything. She'll show up before us and be there until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, giving her advice, her input on everything. Like you could tell she's very much involved. And there's no right or wrong. Like I work with artists who just show up, like tell me what to do my thing, boom, bam, I'm out.
Hmm.
And that's the way that they want to be involved, and work with their projects. But she is very much hands-on. Like I want to see what's happening. I've got my opinion, and it's very inspiring. You watch her
Yeah.
grow and you're like, okay, I have no excuses. I shouldn't be complaining about being tired or just whatever, exhausted or can't do it anymore. Where's my energy? Like if she can step it up, then we can.
Yeah.
We would get those notes sometimes on our dressing room door. Like Beyonce is out dancing you ladies, like step up.
I
So
love it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, she is talented, so and
yeah.
like iconic. But yeah, no, I remember even watching like the JLo documentary. I know you worked with her as well, and just
Yes.
seeing that kind of like how involved she was and wanted to make sure everything was perfect. And she herself, has a background in dance, so that was really cool to see. I could kind of imagine the experience being somewhat similar, right?
Absolutely. It's like you don't question why are they at the top of their game. You
Yeah.
think of the J-Los, the Justin Timberlake,
Hmm.
they're so involved. They love what they do. They do it for the right reasons. They're I would say perfectionists. I won't talk for them,
Yeah.
but from what I've seen, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're not going to do this halfway. We're going to go all the way with it.
Okay, rapid fire quickly, and then we're going to move on. Top three artists or favorite, I would say, experiences you've had with artists so far. Who are
Oh,
they?
it's so tough. I don't like picking favorites, but
No, do it.
uh, do it. I mean, Beyonce and J Lo were definitely up there. So is Christina Aguilera. With when I think back of me as a young girl, like watching Much Music or Music Plus
Mm,
and recording, the 6 at 6 music videos. Like those are the ladies that I would look at. I really enjoyed Pussycat Dolls as well, and I got to work with Nicole Scherzinger for years, and she's incredible. Megan Trainor. Wasn't someone I could look up to when I was younger. She wasn't
right.
out there yet, but my experience with her and her family, incredible. So
Mm.
there's definitely some tops there. The more I get to work with her, like lengthwise, of course, the
Yeah,
funner
that's
it
the other
is
thing
too.
too. Yeah, you get to know them on a different level, so you have a different kind of attachment, I guess, to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to now you being in LA, you going to these auditions, bazillions of women, men, whoever at this point, auditioning for these roles. How were you able to differentiate yourself and get yourself to stand out? Because, as we've just spoken about, you've had really cool experiences, a really, really impressive resume, but you have to start somewhere and anyone has to start anywhere. It's really kind of like building a personal brand.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
of course, I'm sure you had an agent to support you, but like, did you guys have some kind of strategy? Was there, a certain event that propelled you or a certain performance that propelled you? Like what really got things going and how were you able to get yourself to stand out amongst those thousands of dancers?
Oh, I love this question. And I think it can be in parallel to any type of career
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
Because and I'll say this often when I have, having an agency, having representation is a great goal. It's a great milestone. And you have got a team and someone in your corner to help you and push for you. Of course, they are the ones who are getting most of the calls, like production needing this, artist needing that. But there's so much work that the artist needs to do themselves. So when it comes to branding yourself and networking, like those tools, it's
Mm,
like the train is passing you by. It will pass you by. You decide to jump on it or not.
yeah.
And I think you lose if you don't. And so, I mean, Instagram wasn't a thing when I first built my career out there. When I first moved out there, it was brand new. So we didn't use it much. But in-person networking, showing up to events, being a part of the community, making sure I introduced myself, you know, building these authentic relationships. It's so word of mouth in terms of industry. It's really about getting into the classes, into the events, and showing your face. When it comes to my brand, to be honest, I don't know that I necessarily intentionally was like, okay, I'm going to be the white girl with the red hair that dances in heels. Or it kind of, I went towards what I liked doing, and all of a sudden people started casting me in that position. And then it was like a clear, oh, she is that girl. She is that person that falls into this. And it, I feel like it amplified the brand that I wasn't going after necessarily, but I was like, hey, if it's the bill, so let's do it, you know?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think with tools like Instagram, you get to sit back and be like, what do I want to showcase? What am I putting in the forefront? Not just physically and what casting I'm a part of, but personality wise, and, you know, work ethic and strengths and weaknesses and like all of that. So it's definitely something to put energy into, because it's the whole package. When you're hired as a dancer, you are an extension of the choreographer who hired you. You're an extension of the artist. Let's say we talk about world tours. You're living on a bus with people. You're in a small bubble, a family that you didn't get to choose. So it's not just about your talent at this point. Are you fun to work with? Or do you have a good energy, good attitude? Are you professional? So all of that was something I really aimed to shine a light on as soon as I got to LA. And I think it's helpful as a Canadian or anyone else, like as an alien coming into the States.
Is that what they call you?
That's what they call us. Yes, we're aliens. We, because we're on an O1 work visa, let's say, to dance, I don't get to work at a restaurant part-time or a coffee shop or.
Okay. I was going to ask if there was like any kind of secondary income to support you.
No money's coming in unless it's dance related, or else it's illegal. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but I was, you know, being safe, and I didn't jump onto anything else. So all of a sudden I've got this fire up my butt. Like, Kim, you can't just pick and choose like an American next to you, like your new friend is like, oh, I'm going to skip this audition. It's not my thing. I'm going to every audition possible. Back then, there was no Lyft or Uber or anything like that. Like, taxis weren't around all the time. Buses weren't great in Los Angeles, but you have your map. You're trying to figure out. I feel like I'm dating myself so much, but you're trying to figure it out. You know, you get a message from your agency. They're like, okay, now you have a second casting or a second audition across the city. Will you make it? Yes, I'm going to do all that I can. Like, just pushing through and saying yes to every type of opportunity as possible, even if it meant.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, even if it meant me, you know, putting on a costume and looking crazy, I was like, I have no choice. This is my only option of making a living. So I'm just going to push for it.
Like, I was going to say, it almost sounds like stereotypical, like how, you know, someone chasing a dance career or an acting career is portrayed in movies.
Yeah.
But like, it's actually, it's not, it's just the truth.
Yes.
You know, like the fact that you actually experienced that and had to run from one end of the city to the next. And that's insane. Like, what's the most auditions you've had in one day, out of curiosity?
Probably not that much, to be honest.
How long do they last?
That's
like,
it. They're often sometimes
it's
a whole day thing. Yeah. Depending
Yeah.
on what type. But I've had some castings. So castings, it's a bit smaller and it's throughout the day. You'll get your specific time. So
Okay.
Oh, Kim, you're coming in at 2:30. That's when they're seeing you. So I've had maybe 3 or 4 in a day, possibly. But it was more so the transportation and then, you know, running back and forth, changing in the middle of the street and changing into the new, you know,
I love that.
whatever look they wanted. So the things we go through. But you know what? It helped me build like my understanding and tools towards like dealing with stress and pressure and competition. Because the more you do it, the more you understand yourself and others and how to handle all of that to really nail that next audition.
And going back to like the networking portion, do you feel like have you befriended choreographers, producers, things like that, and then they are the ones who end up calling you or calling your agent directly because they're like, hey, we've worked with her, we think she'd be great, and like you said, it's like who you know a little bit,
exactly, absolutely,
or a lot of it.
One of the first, a lot of the bit. One of the first questions my agency, my new agent, asked me when I first met with them was, "Who knows you?" Not who do you know. Who knows you by name? Which choreographer could say, oh yeah, Kim, she's come to my class, or I've worked with her. So you could see that that's really important. Of course, if let's say, so the way it works is an agent will get a breakdown, or a choreographer will call in and say, show me your top 20 female dancers from this height to this height, this ethnicity that do these dance styles. And they might represent 300 people. And out of those 300, maybe 100 fit the bill for what they just described, but they have to show their top 20. So they're probably going to show the ones who already have a relationship, not to waste that choreographer's time. Like, let me give you people that I know you love already. So pick from those 20, So it is super important. Even before moving to LA, I did a few trips back and forth to go and train and just start mingling and networking and creating these connections.
Yeah, that's cool. It's making me even think, like, back in business, you said talent obviously has something to do with it. Like, you wouldn't be booking this if you weren't great at dancing, right?
Right.
Just like in my business, people would not be hiring Nomad Creative if we weren't great at design, if we weren't great at marketing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what I find and what I've noticed over the years in running my business is that people choose to work with us as people because they resonate with our values, with the way that we communicate, with like our overall mission. And so I feel like that really like transpires into any career that you're doing. It's like, yes, you could be like one of the most talented and best people, but at the end of the day, like, we are all human, and it's very much like, I don't want to say it's a game, but it is kind of a people's game. Like, you have to be amongst others and like respect them, lead with your values, and also like move with integrity too. Like, I love that as much as you would have loved to work with Beyoncé, you decided, you know what, this is not in line with where I want to go right now. As much as I would love this opportunity, this is what feels right for me. And it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes because you might look back and think, what if, and this and that. But as long as you follow your instinct in any move that you're making throughout your career, your business, whatever it may be, I think like you can't really go wrong, like as long as that felt good at the time.
I agree. Yeah. And it's hopeful to think that way. It's nice to see that humankind is looking for humans to work with. And I feel like, especially also getting, I don't know, again, going back to getting older and pickier, maybe not as green and naive. This is one of my top priority. Like, who am I working with? Am I going to have fun and enjoy it? Or am I going to be stressed out because the person's either rude or late, and all of that really matters. And so, and it's a small business and small circle. So once you're in and you're a professional dancer, word will get around if you are maybe not the best to work with for certain reasons. So
don't blow it.
Don't blow it.
Also, just be a good person.
Yes.
Oh, amazing. Okay. So, I mean, throughout all these years, it's 20 years. You were in LA for 10?
Yes.
Right? In LA for 10 years, dance career, 20 years. Now you're back in Montreal and you're starting kind of like your own little business, right? So you're taking everything that you've learned throughout your career and launching this course. Tell us a little bit about that course and what it looks like and how you've basically took everything that you've learned as a dancer and now have turned into like entrepreneur.
Yes. I've been having a lot of fun. So it's actually been something that was on my mind for quite some time, with people always asking me this similar questions. How do I find auditions, Kim? How, what is a good portfolio? Do I need representation? At what age? Like all these things in relation to a career in dance, not so much like, how do I do the Macarena? Like it wasn't like, dance move related. It was career
related. Yeah.
Yes. And then the pandemic happens. All of the jobs and shows I had lined up in LA were canceled. So my husband and I decided to go back home to Montreal. My sister was pregnant. We just wanted to be around family. We didn't know what to expect. So let's just be in a space back home.
Yeah.
And I had all this time on my hands. So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is the time. Let me start building some sort of mentorship program in my website.
Love that.
And I'm definitely hands-on, and I just love teaching myself and like doing everything myself, which is probably not the smartest, because that's when you get drained, and you should have, a team.
It's important. It's important to know from the beginning. I always say, like, it's nice in the beginning to kind of do it all, or at least dabble in it all and have an understanding. And then you can eventually, get the team to support you when you have the resources. But I think that's a benefit that I have in my business, is that I've technically done every single person's job. So anyone who works for me, I know what you're doing.
Yeah. You can break it down for them. You can hold their hand. You can, That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
so I taught myself how to do a website and this and that, and I put this program together, and so it has
It's beautiful, by the
evolved.
way. Your website's
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank
The
you.
fact that you did that yourself, like, I think it's just a creativity in you. You did a good
Oh,
job.
thank you. I appreciate it, especially
Yeah.
from a design point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has evolved in the past few years, and now it's called the Professional Dance Career Course. It's fully online so that I can serve dancers from all around the world, because it used to be, either semi in person and whatnot. So now to just expand and help as many people as possible, it's online, and yeah, it's a bunch of modules, and I've bonuses, and we talk about all types of subjects and topics, just for me to share all my strategies, my step-by-step, my practices, everything that has worked and what has not worked too, so they can learn from my mistakes
Of course.
and keep growing. And it's basically a way for them to get a concrete plan of action to know what to do next to get to their next step. Because it can't just be like, here is the way to do it. There isn't one way. It all depends on who you are, what you have to offer, and where you're heading,
Yeah.
what city you want to live in, like all of that. So I'll give you the strategies and the ways to create your own plan of action for you to use time and time again. So it's been,
and I'm sure, like, checklists and stuff too, right? Like, things
yes,
that people maybe don't know where to go or what to ask, kind of thing, to give
absolutely.
them that roadmap.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's been such a fun adventure. It's lovely to be able to meet all these dancers and to kind of relive and understand where they are at is where I once was, and to help them as much as possible.
Yeah, I love that you weren't like, I've aged out and this is it in my career. You're like, you know what? Like, you're still working in the industry. And I love that you also took an opportunity in an economy that was very challenging, because anyone could have just sat at home and been like, well, this sucks, I'm not going to do anything, and just wait for it all to blow over. But the fact that you actually took advantage and were like, you know what, this is an opportunity. Like, I love that for you.
Thank you.
And I think you're doing a really great job. Honestly, everything looks amazing. I like read through even like the little rubric on your website, and it's not for me because I'm not trying to be a professional dancer.
Yeah.
But if I was, I'd be like, hell yes, like, this is something I need. So if you're listening and this is something down your alley, definitely go and check out her website, because there's some interesting information there, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot from Kim. So from your personal brand perspective and building that, of course, you have all of your lessons through your dancing career that you're sharing in this course. But what have you learned so far in actually in this transition and starting this business?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's so funny. People say, you leave your 9 to 5 to work 80 hours
24/7.
Yeah. Exactly. But I'm loving it. You know what? It's so different from what I used to have, which could be good or bad. So, I used to depend on that email, on the agent letting me know there's an audition, on the choreographer calling me. Like, I literally just could not plan. And I think my first vacation, I planned for myself, I was 30. So before then, it was like, don't want to leave the city. What if I miss something? Okay, let me cancel this because I just got the call and I want to jump on this opportunity. So very
not
much.
Not that you weren't traveling though while doing the gigs,
yes.
So it's not like you were just like sitting in LA the whole time.
Totally. No, I'm definitely.
So you still got the travel bug out of your system a bit.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm window shopping because you're in there like half a day.
I like that. That's a good way to put it.
I'm like, ooh, would I come back to Italy? Yes. Would I?
Perfect.
But anyway, so my own vacation where I'm not dancing, I'm not feeling guilty that I'm spending money on something else than dancing. That took a while. And so now I'm at the opposite end where I'm not dependent at the mercy of this industry at all. I get to be my own boss. I get to decide if I open up the doors to my program 2 times a year, 5 times a year, like, how many privates do I want to do? So that's really exciting, but also really scary because for the first time ever, I'm putting so much energy and, into the marketing, the branding, the cold calls, like the just putting all that energy to sell what I have to sell, my services. And you're not sure there'll be a return. I'm opening my doors soon and there could be 0 people registering. And so it's the first time in my life where usually when I'm hired and I know money's coming in and I'll be okay. Yeah. This time it's like, hey, you could be pouring all of that into something and you get 0 back. Which
I highly doubt that, by the way.
I'm all about manifestating. So I'm going to say I'm getting a bunch of new students.
It's coming in abundance, honey.
Yes. But so that's been the biggest difference. But with that comes me creating my own schedule, which I've been in love with. My husband, we have 11 years apart, so he's older than me. And I feel like he reached sort of that stage a few years ago. He's financially independent. and he's sort of semi-retired kind of, he's in the industry as well, but in music, he's a music producer and guitarist. And so he will take jobs here and there to help out some friends, but doesn't necessarily need to, and is way more flexible. And that has had a positive impact on me realizing, like, you know what, let me see, what would my ideal schedule look like?
Yeah.
And so again, going back to building something that's online where I can work from home and I can work from my van lifing with my husband in the middle of Utah somewhere in a park or whatever, has been really, really cool and a little scary at the same time too, because again, it goes back to that freedom you have. What are the boundaries? All of a sudden I'm not being told what to do. I have to decide, am I making the right decisions? You know? But I've been loving it.
But it's interesting though, because I'm even thinking where I feel sometimes like the nerves when you work for yourself, you have your own company. It's like there's a certain element that relies on you and your presence in order for it to be sustained. And I'm now in the process of building the business in a way that doesn't require me to be present in the day-to-day activities. And so now my focus is a little bit more on like sales and scaling and making sure that shit happens without me. But at the same time, it's like, if I'm not here to like close the deal and get the client, then I won't have clients, So it's like, that's the last little piece of the puzzle. But the one piece that's always like, okay, so if I don't do that, what would be really nice is like having a typical paycheck, but you didn't even have that typical paycheck. So even your other career, like what you had before, like there was still that like inconsistency in how frequently you're going to work, when that next check is going to come. Like, what was that dealing with that? Because yes, you have all the freedom now, but I feel like there's still a similar level in the energy of like how you're receiving money now versus then, because it's not guaranteed.
Absolutely. And I have a full module in my program on talking finances, because I feel like this doesn't come up enough. Anyways, not in my department, not in dance. And I thankfully, I think it comes from, financially seeing my mom struggle when she was younger and, having the 3 different jobs, but she was always solution based. She wasn't a complainer. It didn't feel like, some of the things she would tell me later on in life, like, did you remember for a month long, we had no electricity. We had to plug in our microwave.
I don't remember.
I was like, what? No way. Like, she did a great job at covering and just an excellent mother. But yeah, I think watching her, I've always leaned towards let me save money. Okay. I don't want to spend. I'm not a spender. I don't love shopping necessarily. I'm that person that, again, still at 38 years old, will make a lunch if I have a full day rehearsal instead of go spend money, at lunchtime with friends or whatever. So it's little things here and there that I think were just instilled in me from a young age that helped me stay the course and not have to freak out throughout my career as a dancer. So I would have, dancers left and right who I work with. So I know how much they're sort of making, because we're on the same jobs. They'd call me and be like, Kim, did you receive, this paycheck from last month's job? Oh, no, not yet. You? No. And I really needed to pay rent. Like I won't make it. And I'm thinking, wait, I know how much money you could be having right now because we've been on the same jobs. Now you're telling me there's nothing left. And that would scare me. And like, I don't want to fall into that. And also, how can I help others not have to live like that? Cause that sucks and that's stressful. So all that to say, I've been pretty, on it with budgeting and being careful, putting money aside, thinking of retirement, because we have no retirement plan per se as dancers. Our unions are shit when it comes to that, to be honest. Like, even though
because you don't have any like RSP situation, like you have to set all that up yourself, right? Like as if you're like a freelancer, right?
Exactly. Okay. And in the States, there's no 401k or anything like that. And so you're really just putting your own money into it. So the one thing that we would have is being a part of a union as an artist. They take a little bit of it from your paycheck every time, but you don't have access to it unless you make a certain amount of money per year for 10 years straight. Anyways, all that to say, I will never see that money in the States.
Really?
And and in Canada, it's a joke. I think I checked recently, and it was saying if I was to now retire at this age, I would get, I think, $700 a year.
What?
Yeah. It's sad. It's so sad. I'm laughing, but
that's like my groceries in a week now.
Right? It's laughable at this point. So it's important to be on it, to be super organized. And I know it's not the funnest topic, but to talk about it and
it's so important. Yeah.
Just so I think all of that setup has brought me to a time now where I don't feel as stressed if maybe one of my launches doesn't do as well as the one prior, just
Yeah,
because I've
makes
been
sense.
good at saving. Yeah.
You brought up briefly that like you knew how much more or less people were making because you were on similar contracts. Did it work that everyone who was hired for a project got paid the same, or did you have like tiers based on experience where your agent's able to negotiate? What did that
Right.
look like?
There's no tiers per se. I mean, you might be like, let's say you hold the title of dance captain, you'll be paid extra. Like if you have an extra role as part of the team.
You're like leading the group, kind
Yes,
of? Okay.
exactly. And making decisions or cleaning up the choreography when the choreographer's not there. So you have
Hmm.
extra tasks.
Hmm.
But in general, we'll probably be paid somewhat the same. We all come from different agencies. So I prefer to talk. I'm all about let's talk. Like, what are you getting? What have you been told? Like, let's push and let's go get something really
Yeah.
extra.
Oh, I love that. That's cool.
Yeah.
You guys are
Uh,
open with that because not everyone, like some
Not
people
everyone
freak
is.
out about money. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay. I respect that as well. If you're
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm going to do my thing. I don't want to share. That's all good. But I think as a group, we're way stronger and we can
Yeah.
put our foot down and be like, hey, this doesn't make sense. I remember one of my first tours ended up talking. It was half and half. Two of us were from one agency, the other two from the other, and we were getting paid the same. But one agency was taking 20%, the other was taking 10.
That's a huge difference.
Yes. So I'm glad we talked because we brought it up to the agencies and they were like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we get it. We'll bring it down to 10% as well.
Is that
So
standard? Like people will charge, I've heard 10%, like that sounds normal, but 20?
yeah, it depends where.
Wow.
I'd say 10 and 15 in the States, between 10 and 15. But in Canada, it's a bit more. It's 15, 20. And then it could be even more if you're more into the commercials or public speaking and like depending on the roles that you're doing.
Okay,
Uh,
it's not like the agency itself, it's the role.
it's the role. It's the role in
Okay.
the industry that you're in. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's room for negotiation, but at the end of the day, we're still, we'll go on tour and you ask the, the band or crew, like everyone involved, how much they're making. It's always way more than the dancers. The dancers will be the one who are asked, like, can you pair up in rooms? And you're like, I'm not 12. Like, I'm also an adult. And I know that what we do is fun looking, but
It's a lot of work.
yes, it's a lot of work and I don't want to be sharing. I'm an adult. I don't want to share a room with another adult. Like
No.
what? No.
No.
So that tends to happen quite a bit. So again, it's like about putting your foot down, talking with your agency, talking to the other dancers and, just locking the elbows and not accepting what you don't like as a condition. Which
Yeah.
is scary because, of course, I'm saying this and it's so easy to do, but no, because then am I going to be blacklisted? Are they going to
Yeah.
just, cancel all
Say
of
no.
us? And
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I see it is like it won't hurt to ask and you don't know until you ask, really.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you do it in the right way, politely, respectfully, and you have a rationale behind like your question, great. I think worst case scenario, it's like they just say no and then you either accept their conditions or you don't,
I
but
agree.
I also don't know like how cutthroat it is in LA. They might just be like, oh, well, she wants more. Too bad. On to the next one. I don't know if they work like that, but at least from what I'm used to dealing with, like usually people are pretty kind of understanding and willing to be flexible,
Yeah, and that's where having that relationship with your agency is important because they're doing the negotiation for you most of the times, and they're the middleman. So you want to make sure that you love their approach and the way they talk to people. And
yeah, because they're kind of like an extension of you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Now that I'm back in Montreal, I have a new agency here. I didn't back then, but now things have shifted a little bit in the industry and with what I want to be doing. And, that's what one of the principal things why I fell in love with that agency, talking to my agent. She's just such a lovely woman, bubbly, and I've seen her negotiate or I'll be on the call and she's talking and she's just so wonderful. You're like, oh, I want to say yes to you. I want to work with you. I want to,
That's a good thing. Yeah.
There's no disrespect there. So there's a way to go about it. And you just have to trust the team that you are deciding to hire to represent you.
Yeah. Really cool. This has been so fun. I want to know what's next. I want to know what's next on the radar. You're back in Montreal now.
Yeah.
You have your business moving. Are you like, is this it for dance? Are you going to go back to LA for some gigs? Like, what's the plan?
So, you know what? I'd say that I'm in a place, I'm like transitioning and there are a few question marks, and I'm
Okay.
rolling with it, and I'm just staying curious, and I'm trusting the timing and everything. But when I first got to Montreal a few years ago and I started building my mentorship program, at the same time, I remember telling myself, I'm just going to say yes to whatever comes in. Let's try new things because I don't know what's next. I didn't want to dance, to be honest, didn't want to dance back up here in Montreal because it feels like I've done it 10 years ago. Been there, done that. Don't need to do it again. Like, no disrespect to anybody, but I've done it. So it didn't excite me as much. So I choreograph, I would, host a TV show, do this web series. Like I kind of said yes to a bunch of different things just to see, do I hate it? Do I love it? What do I love about it? So it's nice. I've been narrowing down certain titles that I might not be like a hell yes for me.
Yeah. Has anything stood out? Has anything stood out where you were like, I really love this, and like maybe you didn't expect it?
Well, I did expect the mentorship to work well, or to feel good, and it does. I really feel my ex as a mentor or coach, or just like there to help and support. So that's going to continue for sure. And then public speaking has been something that I want to push more of. It's been really fun to just get on stage. And so far I've talked to mostly, I'd say, either teens or, younger, college, university, or dancers. But it'd be cool to step it up or challenge myself and go in different category all in all, and go to, I don't know, a woman empowerment event where I'm talking to women my age, and let's have a discussion here. Let's
call me up when you get that call so I can join you.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, so when it comes to the future, I'd like to push that a little bit more. And then still staying open to what are my hell yeses. They're not so clear. Dance wise, I wouldn't say I've hung up my shoes. I'm still willing to like try thing here and there, audition here and there, but it has to be something that's like, wow. In this industry, I don't know if you guys ever bring this up or have talked about this, but we have the 3 Ps in our industry. So when someone is not sure, should they say yes or no to a job, we look at people, payment, and project. So does the project excite me? Am I going to learn something new? Like, what is this all about? Is it a yes? Cool. The payment, is it's, am I being paid well, my worth and everything? Or the people, are they someone I want to, shadow or learn from or get inspired by or have fun with? And so if you hit 2 of the 3 Ps, usually you kind of go for a yes. It's worth it.
I like that. I'm going to use that. People, payment, project. Yeah. That's very relevant. That works. I guess we do it without thinking.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little like rubric to follow, because sometimes those check marks aren't getting ticked. And that's also like a privilege that you get after working in any industry for a while, is that you get to kind of like pick and choose what those projects are. And I guess you could be nitpicky from the beginning, but I think you learn a lot from the different opportunities too.
I agree.
So I think there's something in just saying yes and figuring it out to start. And then you can narrow it down and realize like who you really like to, the types of people or clients you really like to work with. And then kind of like go from there. So really cool.
Absolutely.
Really relatable.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at with dance. It has to hit 2, even 3 Ps for me to say yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you said 2 out of the 3, I was like, I was expecting her to say all 3.
Yeah. So in general,
I feel like for me, I think it's all 3. I feel like it would have to hit all 3.
Yeah,
personally.
That's where I'm at for sure. In my career at this point, I'll tell my students, try to get 2 out of 3. You're starting out. Let's play. Let's see,
True. Because sometimes maybe like the pay isn't as much as you'd like, but it's like worth the experience. So it kind of balances out. I could see that. See that. I would actually probably do that too. If it was like a huge ass brand that was like, we want Nomad, I'd be like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So so lots of question marks in the future, but I'm excited to see where I land.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah. Well, Kim, we always end our podcast with what I call the mindful minute. So it's really just, you've already shared so much advice, but a piece of advice that you would give from life, dance, whatever you want it to be, to anyone listening for them to take that they may not learn anywhere else.
Ooh, maybe they've learned this somewhere else, but I would like to go to what's coming to mind first is being your best friend. Being your cheerleader, being your best supporter. I think it all stems from that. Whenever I'm asked like, oh, what are the keys to your success? Or how did you get to where you went? Of course, there's so many elements that are involved with that. But first and foremost, I think it's the work, and it's a lifetime practice of just loving yourself, accepting your weaknesses and things that you'd want to change about yourself that you can't, and betting on your strengths. So understanding what makes you unique, loving yourself, complimenting yourself every day, even if you need a little post-it, a little. I remember listening to she's a therapist. Her name is Marissa Peer, and she talked about the I am enough method that she has. And you tell yourself, I am enough every day out loud. So I wrote it in my mirror with a lipstick, and every day for a year, I am enough. I am enough. And it's those little stories and words that we use, that we tell ourselves, they make a huge difference. So if you're listening, you are enough. Give yourself that love. Start in the morning with an affirmation or something, some sort of compliment to yourself. And I think it'll make a big difference.
I love it. Honestly, belief in yourself really does go a long way. We didn't even get to this because this was a question that I had prior, but you know what? This is not my last question. I have one more question for you because we're talking about like loving yourself, supporting yourself, believing in yourself. But you know, when you were 26 years old and you left to LA to pursue a career as a dancer, which is not something that's like traditional, let's say, did you have any like pushback? Did you feel supported? Because I'm sure some other people are making decisions, even if it's starting their own business, wanting to work for themselves. Not everyone really understands that there's a lot of risk involved. Did you like, what was the feedback from like friends and family?
I'm knocking on wood because I know it's not everyone's reality, but I definitely had a great support system. My sisters, my mom, my dad, like everyone is just like, yeah, go do you, like jump and try. And if not, come back. You always have a home and somewhere to stay. And that was definitely a blessing. Of course, you hear, you know, the uncle and the this and the friend and the person at school that's like, dancing, that's not a career. How much are you going to make, you know, or how long is it going to last? But you just have to like silence the noise and listen to yourself and you know, follow your path.
Yeah. So are you telling everybody that you can make a living as a dancer?
Absolutely. I've never had another job, to be honest. As soon as I
go.
chose to dance, it was all in relation to dance. Of course, choreography, teaching, but it's all dance related. That's all I've done my entire life.
Amazing. Okay, guys. So Kim has her professional dance career course. It's a 6-week program that teaches you step-by-step strategies to take your dance career to a whole new level. Go check that out. Kim, where can they find more information about this course and about you? And also like follow her pages because she shares really sick content.
Thank you. You'll definitely see me dancing around the world. I love to share those little snippets. But yes, my Instagram or TikTok handle is my full name. So Kim Gingras, that's Gingras. And I actually have a brand new page. It's all dance related only. That's Kim Gingras Dance. And then my website is kimgingras.com. So just my full name everywhere.
That's another lesson, guys. If you have a personal brand and business, secure your domains.
Yes.
All your handles, all your domains. I love that it's your full name. Amazing. Okay, well, that's it, Kim. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. I had so much fun. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I was fangirling over chatting with Kim, and I'm so glad we finally made this happen. So we'll chat next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.